Hey, hey kids, Mr. Carlson here. I'm just hanging out with my buddy, Mr. Roadrunner. We're just hanging out a little bit here, me and the bird. And he was asking me, he's like, hey Carlson, what do you do with titles anyway? I'm like, what? That's pretty random, Mr. Sam Roadrunner, right? Not to this. And I said, well, yeah, what are you talking about exactly? You know, like titles of movies and titles of short stories. How do you do that? I'm like, you are one smart Mr. Roadrunner, all right? So be ready to learn, bird. All right, so today's goal is I will punctuate titles correctly. All right, there's different rules. There's only 2 people in Navajo County who know how to do this, and I'm one of them. All right, ready, play kids? Now, just in general, before we get to the hardcore notes, here's a real life example. You know, Sam Roadrunner was just telling me how his favorite book was Moby Dick. I'm like, me too, bird. What's up? Now you don't see a bulldog reading that, do you? But anyway, my favorite novel is Moby Dick, and that's kind of a big deal, ain't it? So if you're handwriting it, okay, you underline it. Okay, underlining and handwriting was a way for the publisher to know that you're supposed to do something really fancy with it, which is to put it in italics. So when I went to the printing press, they would put it in italics. See, slanty, classy, all right? So it's a big, large, classy book, therefore it gets italics. Those little low budget question or quotation marks. Or like, who doesn't love Friends, right? My favorite TV show is Friends. Well, Mr. Roadrunner, we were just watching one the other day. That's a funny one, right? That's a funny one, dude. And we were watching it, and it's the title of the TV show gets underlined, all right, because there's a lot of them, and it's a big deal. Same thing, if you're typing it, it goes to the printing press, you put it in italics, right, buddy? So if it's a particular episode, right, then you would have to put in quotation marks, and I'll get to that right now. So let's look at the rules of italics versus quotation marks, all right? Now I'm going to teach you, there's a big system here at the beginning. It doesn't work perfectly the whole time, but think big pieces of art, like a book, a novel, a movie, a TV series, all right? Those are classier, bigger, they get italics. The shorter versions, they're not quite as big and powerful, I guess, so we just give them little quotation marks. All right, so ready to play? So the title of a book, for example, like Moby Dick, goes under the italics or underline, okay? The big, classy, mammoth, published book right there, all right? Now, a chapter within the book, a chapter within the book, it's little, right? It's not as big as the book itself. So therefore, the little teeny tiny chapters, they get put in quotation marks, all right? So like, I'll go back to Moby Dick. Moby Dick would be put in italics because it's a huge work of art. But one particular chapter, famous one, The Whiteness of the Whale, okay, that chapter gets put in quotation marks. So big italics, tiny, right, bird? Tiny, little quotation marks, all right? So keep that. Works a lot for this. Like an album, all right? The Beatles' White Album, okay? That would be put in italics. If you're handwriting it, you'd underline it. However, a particular song, smaller, right, that just happens to make up the album, all right? I can't think of one off the top of my head, but Here Comes the Sun, say. Here Comes the Sun, just a song gets put in the little floaty quotation marks. So once again, big italics, little quotation marks. All right, a little outdated here, right? Newspapers? You're probably like, what's a newspaper? All right, so newspapers, all right, think big, gets put in italics or underlined handwritten. Websites, a lot of stuff on a website, italics are underlined. Magazines, made up of a lot of different articles, right? So you might see where I'm going with this one. So the big publication itself, underlined or italics. The little teeny tiny articles that make up the newspaper or the magazine or the website, those little articles, as you remember hopefully from your research paper, they get, right? TV show as before mentioned, right? Friends, right? So if you say I watch an episode of Friends, you have to put in italics or underline it. If you watch a lot of Friends, you understand they always start off with the one where, right? So the one where Ross, I don't know, jumps off the building. So that particular episode of that series, White Lotus, I guess is big right now. I'm not going to watch it, but I keep hearing more about White Lotus. So that one particular episode, the one where Ross slips and falls, the Tricky Bowl one was good. That would be just put in italics. All right. So I can't remember if I did album, but if I already did album, what's again a particular song would be from the album. I already mentioned album, right? I was just checking. It's called Reinforcement right there, kids. All right. So now I'm just going to kind of give you a laundry list, okay, as we continue on. All right. So get your pens ready, kids. This is the italics or underline. All right, here we go. Pamphlets. All right, a pamphlet, Common Sense. Think of Common Sense by Thomas Paine that caused the little guy that pamphlet that caused the whole Revolutionary War almost. All right, that gets underlined. A play like Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, that would be underlined. A film, right? A great film. I'm trying to think of a big film right now. Titanic, I guess, made a few bucks. Right, so films, big work of art here. A spacecraft, a ship, an aircraft or spacecraft or ship. So let's see, the Titanic, good one, Carlton. Let's see, the Apollo, which landed on the moon, I believe, and maybe any sort of other creature, maybe a train. It can be a train, a particular name. It's good luck, right? A long poem, I would think of probably like 20 pages or so, which, believe it or not, there are poems that long. The Song of Hiawatha, I think, would be one that comes to mind quickly. So long poems. Ooh, scientific name, Homo sapiens. Right? Any foreign word. So if I were to say yatahe in a English sentence, then yatahe would have to be put in italics. Or Latin, any French, as long as it's a different language in a particular context where it's all another language, that foreign language has to be put in italics. A legal case, Brown versus Board of Education. An opera, The Barber of Seville. A ballet, I love ballet. I'll go Nutcracker, I guess. And a musical, like Oklahoma. Oklahoma is the place for me. What do you think, Bird? Too much? That's why you got a notebook, homeboy. All right. And here, lastly, kids, have a sip. You'll be fine. It's a good mood today, I hope. Anyway, lastly, here will be your quotation marks. These are the shorter works, like a short story. Get it? Short? It's not a book. It's a little short story. Just quotation marks. Famous letter, a letter from Birmingham jail from Martin Luther King. A lecture, let's see, American Scholar by Emerson comes to mind. A one-act play, I would call that The Winds of Holbrook. I published that one. Let's see, a famous speech, I Have a Dream, more Martin Luther King. A radio podcast episode, all right. So I'll listen to Bill Simmons, and he usually numbers them, but some different podcasts will give them different names. And, poem itself, right? What did I just do? The Charge of the Light Brigade. Now, if Tennyson had that in a whole book, which he probably did, then that book gets put in italics. All right? So keep it simple, though, kids. Big, Moby Dick, War and Peace, big book, big book. It's classy, it's powerful, it gets italics. Generally, a smaller work of art, a little poem or short story article, just gets the quotations. What up, Bird? All right. Y'all have a good day. Historical note, tariffs are going to affect today, who knows? World economy could collapse today, but I'm sure it won't. So, for historical note, that's what's going on today.